Here's a guy who thinks Christians actually should ask the questions that they shouldn't ask.
Okay, so now let's take a look at things that atheists think we should stop saying.
Should not say to atheists. First one, where do you get your morality from? Don't assume that because we're atheists, we don't have morals. We all have morals, we all have ethics. Ours don't derive from a holy book. And I would hope that your Bible isn't the only reason you're not out there killing everybody in sight.
So there's two possible things someone could mean when they say, where do you get your morals? They could mean, as it seems like was taken here, to mean that, well, how do you know what's right and wrong? Where do you get your morals? So without Christianity, without the Bible to tell you what morality is, what's going to happen is you're just going to end up being all kinds of horrible things. That's not typically what Christians mean when they bring this, but if they bring that sort of a criticism, if that is what they mean, then I kind of agree in a certain sense that, look, we believe as Christians that there's a moral awareness that is written onto our hearts, that unbelievers are aware of morality as well. So yes, we believe that you have morality, that you're aware of moral principles, and that you can function morally. That's if someone is saying to you that if you don't have a Bible, you won't know anything about what's right and wrong, then yeah, that's ridiculous.
Then we agree that Christians shouldn't say that, and that it's ridiculous, at least insofar as that question is predicated upon the assumption that morality needs to be externally dictated.
But what's typically being said here, where do you get your morality, is not to say that you don't act morally, or all atheists are horrible people, or Christians are the only ones who can do moral things. That's not at all what almost any Christian you're going to talk to is ever going to say or mean. There's people on the internet, just like there are people in every group on the internet that could say all kinds of things. But generally speaking, the meaningful objection here or concern that actually does need to be addressed is, no, we understand that you do have moral principles. We understand that you're aware of some of the same morality that we're aware of, just through general revelation, what we experience as we observe our own psychology and that of others. We're aware that you're aware of morality and that you have it. The question is, where does that track to?
Why does that need to be addressed? What purpose does addressing that serve? If a person consistently isn't harming anyone or violating anyone's consent, why does that behavior need to track to anything? What difference does it make?
Where in reality does that track to? What is the foundation for that? From whence does that spring?
From whence is redundant, by the way. You can just say, whence does that spring? Whence already means from where. And again, who cares? As long as the behavior is consistent, its origin is inconsequential. It doesn't matter whether it comes from God or from evolution or from social conditioning. The result is the same either way.
Because if you can't give me an account that it's some sort of non-natural moral realism or some kind of Platonic sort of idea, if you can't give me something like that, we're going to be really concerned about the meta-ethics going on here and what you're doing.
Why? If the behavior is consistent, what difference do the meta-ethics make?
In a meta sense, because you're going to want to take those same, it could be, by the way, why it comes up when you're in discussion with Christians is because they're going to take your words to imply that you think that the moral concerns you have as an atheist for, say, the way Christians function or the way Christians vote or things that people do, it's going to sound like you think that there is some overarching, high-level, transcendental moral foundation that you can appeal to and then expect us to live accordingly.
Not if I explicitly say there isn't any such thing. I don't believe in any transcendent objective morality. I try to break the habit of saying that I think people should do X or Y, because all I ever really mean when I say that is that I want people to do X or Y.
So they're actually getting at a much deeper, not so surfacey sort of a thing. They're getting at the deeper question of from whence does that morality spring? Not are you aware of morality? We believe you have morality. We want you to tell us where you think the foundation for that lies. That's, of course, the concern.
I suppose that could be a concern insofar as someone tells you that you should do X, but I try not to make statements like that. I believe that my moral desires are a product of some combination of how my brain evolved and social conditioning, if you want an explanation for those desires. I suspect, however, that you want a justification rather than a mere explanation, and that I don't have, because I don't believe that there is any such thing as ultimate objective moral justification. Even even if there is a God who dictates morality to us, I still don't see how that is objective because A, God is a subject, and B, there is no objective, non-circular reason why we ought to follow his moral system.
Do you not believe in anything? Your life must be so empty. It's like, no, I don't believe in God. I believe in plenty of other things, and there's a lot of other things that give my life meaning. Whether it's friends, family, teaching, the kids I work with on a regular basis, talking about atheism and writing about it, which means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to the people watching this or reading the website too. But all the atheists I know have plenty in their life that gives them meaning.
Yeah, so once again, if someone is saying that you can't experience meaning in your life, then that's false. That's not a good way to go about this. Again, what they probably mean, I guess the more sophisticated way of talking about this is to say, okay, you have, from what you've just said, you have some sort of an existential atheist, Sardian kind of meaning that you kind of determine for yourself. And that's popular right now. Neil deGrasse Tyson has said things like that.
I'd make a different objection to the statement that I don't have meaning in my life. I don't understand why I should want meaning in my life. I'm not even always sure what meaning even means, let alone what the appeal of it is. Folks seem to use the term to refer to some kind of mission that they want to accomplish, but I have no interest in any such thing. That sounds like a straitjacket to me. It sounds like a limitation. If you want to hold yourself to something you feel is your duty in life, if that is fulfilling to you, go for it. But don't assume that such a thing is fulfilling for everyone.
Done videos on that hey, you make up your own meaning, and I like music and I like writing about atheism, so I'll just do that and that'll be my meaning. And I agree that you derive fulfillment, you derive some sense of self-ascribed purpose from that. And I also agree that as an atheist, as a naturalistic atheist, that may be all you have access to.
Good. I don't want to have access to any other obligations. Or rather, I don't want other obligations to have access to me.
But what we're asking for is, but what is the meta meaning? What is the ultimate meaning? Again, that's the sort of question that we're trying to get to.
Hopefully there isn't any such thing. Also, I don't understand how there could be any such thing, because again, even if there is a God who dictates a purpose to us, there is still no objective, non-circular reason why we ought to fulfill that purpose.
Why are you mad at God? Because apparently if I don't believe in God, I must have this deep hatred and I wake up every morning and I curse the sky. Atheists don't hate God. Atheists don't believe in God. We also don't hate unicorns.
Now, he's obviously right that you can't just make those kind of presumptions about someone. You need to talk to each person and let them tell you that kind of information. Let them tell you what their feelings are about worldview, the emotional aspect of that, if they have one that they're willing to talk about, that sort of thing. Just approach each person as an individual and find. So I agree that we shouldn't make these kind of assumptions. Now, why might some people who haven't thought that deeply about it develop this sort of a belief? Well, there's all kinds of videos on the internet of people tearing Bibles up, burning Bibles, and people kicking Bibles around at a protest. That could be why some Christians develop the belief that these people hate God.
I actually think why do you hate God is not an unreasonable question per se. It's only unreasonable insofar as it's used as a gotcha question to try to demonstrate that an atheist actually believes in God. Some folks argue that to hate God implies that there is a God which exists to hate. This does not follow. You can hate a fictional concept while still fully understanding that said concept is fictional.
Now, it's not that I don't get the notion that what people like that might really be hating the concept of God or what the concept of Christianity, the teaching of Christianity has led to in their particular country and how people view them or how people view each other or how they vote, all those kind of things. Yeah, someone could hate all of that. And I agree that the people that are really thinking this through would certainly frame it up that way. But with all that we've just discussed, is it unreasonable to think that some Christians might presume, okay, they're kicking the Bible, they're ripping the Bible up. It seems like they hate God. Is that an unreasonable conclusion?
Again, only insofar as you infer that hating the concept of God implies belief that he exists. The intended purpose of this question seems to be to make this implication.
You can't prove God doesn't exist. That's always a fun one. Like, yeah, well, when you can prove to me that flying unicorns don't exist, we'll play the game. I always want to know why Christians have no problem disbelieving in, Hindu gods, other religions' gods, and they just dismiss it. They never think about it. It's not like they're sitting around thinking, maybe Zeus does exist. No, they're just like, of course Zeus doesn't exist. It's silly for anybody to think that, or had thought about that in the past. And then when I do the same thing, like, yeah, well, I dismiss your God the same way, they're like, but you can't prove that. Look, you go through the other millions of gods and you disprove them, then I'll get around to yours, all right? We'll call that a deal.
Well, first of all, this may rely on the idea that you can't prove a negative, which of course you can prove a negative if you can find something that is incoherent or contradictory within the nature of the thing that you're describing.
Yeah, like the idea of something existing while also being timeless and spaceless.
So in principle, you could do something like that. And that is exactly what people try to do with the problem of evil, arguments from evil. And if you thought those were successful, I would expect you to point to them, and maybe you do elsewhere. But here, you're just telling me, well, it's just like we don't believe in Hinduism.
Well, Hemmett's point seems to be that Christians seem to demand evidence of the existence of Zeus or Vishnu that they don't demand with respect to the God in which they believe.
And this goes back to something else that's going to be discussed or has been discussed in this video, and that is that people throw out these religions as if they all have the same evidentiary appeal, and they simply don't.
The point of bringing them up is that the vast majority of Christians haven't really looked into the evidence of the thousands of other religions. I highly doubt that this dude has looked at the evidence for every single religion and concluded that Christianity is the one that has the most evidence behind it. So I doubt he has much of a basis for saying that every other religion is less evident than Christianity.
Make your case for Hinduism. Make your case for Islam. Make your case for Zeus. But we don't think of these other religions as exactly the same as Christianity. I understand you do.
No, the point is not that they are exactly the same. The point is that no Christian ever became a Christian because they heard people make their case for every single other religion in existence and found Christianity to be more persuasive than all the rest.
Or in terms of the evidence or something like that, or at least that's how it sounds. But we actually don't think that. We think there is evidence that is good enough that we think it's reasonable to conclude Christianity in the face of other religions.
I doubt that this is true because, again, in order for this to be the case, you would have to have examined the evidence for the thousands of other religions. I don't see how that's even possible within a human lifetime.
It's not like the existence of other religions itself and that I don't believe in them means I shouldn't believe in Christianity.
That's not the point. The point is that few, if any, Christians hold the tenets of Christianity to the same level of scrutiny as the tenets of other religions. William Lane Craig, for example, has famously said that he lowers his doxastic bar with respect to the claims of Christianity simply because he wants them to be true.
Next one. What if you're wrong? What if I'm wrong? Nothing's gonna happen if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then basically what you're assuming is that God is gonna punish me for asking honest questions and trying to, search this stuff for myself and ending up at the conclusion that he didn't like. Why would God be mad at me for actually doing some research instead of just sitting around and going to church a couple times a week and acting like I really care?
I mean, hey, I wouldn't do it, but you can try to have that conversation with God.
You say that as though you don't think God would be reasonable enough to cut anyone some slack for making an honest mistake.
When you meet him, but in my opinion, the idea was, what if you're wrong? So what if you're wrong? You're saying if I'm wrong, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, but what if you're wrong, right?
Well, given that the reason that I don't believe in a God is because I have yet to find a way to understand what it even means to say that a God exists, asking what if you're wrong is like asking what if you fall out of an airplane and can't grow wings and fly? Well, the answer either way is I'm f***ed and I can't help but be f***ed. Telling me I should believe in a God is like telling me that I should grow wings and fly. I have no clue how to do either one, so it's useless advice. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.